New school year, new routines, and somehow your calendar is already full. When life gets hectic, Caulipower's got your back. We make the food you crave made better for you, like thin and crispy cauliflower crust pizzas, all-natural chicken tenders, and nostalgic pizza snacks. Ready in minutes in something the whole family can agree on. Caulipower is available in freezer aisles nationwide. Visit eatcaulipower.com to find a store near you.
On the job, every minute counts. That's why Lowe's now has ProBlock Quick Dry Primer, expertly manufactured by Sherwin-Williams. Engineered for pros to dry fast and go on smooth for virtually flawless results that keep your job moving. It's available in oil and water-based, and getting it is easy. Order online by 2 p.m. and get free same-day delivery right to your job site. Lowe's, we help, you save. Orders placed after 2 p.m. will be delivered next day. Valid in select zip codes. Subject to driver availability. More terms apply.
You're listening to Missing Persons, brought to you by AbJack Entertainment. Be sure to check out some of the other great true crime podcasts from this network, including The Murder in My Family, DNA ID, Zodiac Speaking, Scene of the Crime,
Beyond Bizarre True Crime, Campus Killings,
and
Killer Communications.
All of these podcasts are available for you to binge on right now, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe where you're listening to this podcast so you don't miss an episode.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast do not necessarily represent those of the podcast, its creators, or sponsors. This episode may contain unsettling or disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
If you'd like to support Missing Persons and get VIP access to things like ad-free listening, early preview episodes, and bonus content of not only this show, but for every other podcast on the AbJack network of indie podcasts, consider subscribing to the show with an AbJack Insider subscription through Apple Podcast. For only $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year, you'll unlock a variety of listener benefits, and you'll be supporting the show in the process. Your support is greatly appreciated.
Welcome to Missing Persons, a podcast dedicated to spreading the word about people who have vanished under mysterious or unexplained circumstances and the family members who are looking for answers. I'm Jess Betancourt.
And I'm Mike Morford. Together we created this podcast to help give a voice to people who continue to search for their missing loved ones. In some cases, even after decades have gone by. In each episode, you'll hear from Jess giving listeners the backstory and the basic facts of the disappearance.
Then Mike will speak with someone who's intimately connected to the missing person, and his guest will share their story with us. So sit back and enjoy this episode, and who knows, maybe you can help us find someone who's missing. Katherine Hammontre, known as Kat, went missing in Mexico in 2019. Katherine Marie Hammontre was born in Montana on June 30th, 1950, and grew up in Seattle, where she attended Nathan Hale High. She married and had a daughter, Desiree, who is our guest today. Kat moved to San Felipe, Mexico in the late 1990s with a man who subsequently passed away. Kat had worked for years as a paralegal in Seattle, but in San Felipe she started an internet cafe called The Net and designed websites for many of the local businesses. She also maintained a blog called Kat's Corner about local doings in San Felipe. She was fluent in Spanish and taught English classes to local children. Kat was known to many locals and was an integral part of the community in her adopted hometown of San Felipe. Sadly, Kat was diagnosed with liver cancer in 2018, and the disease and subsequent radiation treatments sapped her energy and weakened her body. When she went missing, she had recently decided to halt the treatments and let nature take its course. Kat had met Warren Sundquist at her business The Net sometime in the mid-20-teens. They dated for a couple of years and were married on April 11th of 2018. Kat went missing on her first wedding anniversary, April 11th, 2019. Things between her and Warren had been a bit rocky leading up to that date. The couple had recently argued, reportedly after Kat had fallen asleep on a friend's couch and had not come home. Warren told her to move out of the house, and she did, but the two quickly got back together, deciding to make a go of it. On Thursday, April 11th, 2019, Kat, Warren, and their dog Tootsie went out to Diablo Canyon in the Sierra de San Pedro Mártir National Park in San Felipe, Baja California, Mexico, with 6 other hikers. These included Kat's good friend Nicole, Nicole's husband Dave, and other hikers named Kevin, Kim, Kelly, and Dennis. Diablo Canyon was very out of the way. The group caravanned the 33 miles on dirt roads in 3 cars to a makeshift parking area accessing the canyon. The goal of the hike was to reach the waterfall and clear pools that punctuate the rocky desert terrain of Diablo Canyon. Hikers have to walk from the trailhead a quarter mile uphill to the entrance of the canyon before accessing the trail to the falls. It was 90 degrees that day. Not far into the hike, at the spot where the well-marked trail first intersects with running water in the arroyo, Kat said she would not continue to the falls. The week before, she had broken 2 toes on her right foot. She told the other hikers she would stay right there at the first water pool. She and Tootsie would wait for them to return. They'd be fine with the cool water right there. Nicole lit a cigarette for Kat, and the others continued on their hike. The hikers were gone for 70 to 90 minutes, but when they returned, Kat and Tootsie were nowhere to be seen. Kat's beer bottle was sitting on a rock at the pool, but there was no sign of her or Tootsie. Kat's husband Warren and Dave had not joined the hike. They remained at the trailhead because Dave's car was having engine trouble. When the group got back and asked about whether Kat had returned to the vehicles, Warren and Dave said they never saw Kat return. They all realized that Kat was missing and immediately started searching for her. Some of the hikers climbed back up to the area where they had last seen Kat, others walked the area surrounding the parking area, and even others sounded the car horns and yelled for Kat and Tootsie. Kevin launched a professional photographer's drone to view the falls and canyon down to a cattle ranch visible in the distance. But lush vegetation and terrain dotted with large boulders, dunes, ravines, and crevices made visibility difficult. After hours of searching, Warren stayed on site while others drove to areas with cell service to alert authorities. No official searches were conducted that day as it grew dark. Warren slept overnight in his Jeep at the trailhead, but Kat and Tootsie never appeared. The next morning, April 12th, formal searches began. The Mexico Civil Rescue Agency, a local SNR group called the Scorpions Rescue Personnel, and the Mexican military searched the area with choppers and ground searchers for 4 days. Friends of Warren and Kat also headed out on quads and reenacted the hike she'd done, scouring the whole area. This from Mexico News Daily, quote, volunteers and Mexicali civil protection personnel, the fire department, the army, the Red Cross, and 5 search and rescue dogs mounted a search that revealed 2 marijuana plantations, but no sign of the missing woman, end quote. On April 15th, State Civil Protection Chief Antonio Rosquias announced that the search was being called off. Quote, we suspended the search. We combed the area surrounding the spot where she was last seen, a 5-kilometer perimeter, and we did not find her, he said. All in all, they had searched an area of about 3 miles around where Kat was last seen, but found not one trace of Kat or Tootsie. Kat's husband Warren kept their friends and family updated in the days after Kat and Tootsie vanished, detailing on Facebook the ground and air searches that were happening. But by the 18th, with Kat and Tootsie gone a week, he posted, there's nothing new to report, and I have the sad feeling that the loves of my life are gone. At that point, the case was turned over to the state attorney general's office. It's unclear what happened over the next 3 weeks that may have shifted the investigation, but Warren posted on May 7th that police showed up at the home he had shared with Kat and searched the entire property with cadaver dogs and probes. Of course, they found nothing. StrangeOutdoors.com reported, quote, Warren's home was searched by the police, who did a DNA search of his vehicle and found no blood or DNA, and there was no sign of tissue under his fingernails or marks on his body indicating an altercation, end quote. Warren continued to drive searches for Kat. He and some friends and local volunteers went to the cattle ranch that was some distance from the trail and inquired about her. They also approached the marijuana grow operations and spoke to some unfriendly men. The police maintained that the grow operation area was searched and the grows were believed to have been located too far for Kat to reach. Warren updated Desiree regularly and continually requested information from the Baja California State Attorney General, but eventually was told that they would contact him if information arose. Desiree had to return home to her kids and job. She felt helpless, although she ensured that flyers were put up in the area and continues to seek information. So what happened to Kat Hammontre? How did she vanish in such a short amount of time? The trail that connected the area where Kat was last seen to the parking area where Warren was supposedly well marked. Kat was an experienced outdoorswoman who had taken survival courses and knew not to wander off alone. She had even made a series of videos in 2015 when she got lost in the desert in her dune buggy. In the videos, she says things like, I'm directionally challenged. She tells herself to stay in one place, don't start wandering. I'll make it back. I'm a survivor. I've survived a lot worse than this, and I'm not scared. Also, Kat was suffering from cancer and had broken toes, and it was 90 degrees and she had no potable water. She would not have decided to explore the area under these circumstances. Even if she did, it's very unlikely that she would have been able to get very far. Although, if she became dehydrated and overheated, she could have become delirious and wandered far enough to get lost in the canyon. Some people have posited that perhaps Kat was chasing Tootsie, who was not on a leash, and the two got lost. But of course, with her injured toes, Kat would have been unable to pursue the dog very far. And Tootsie would have known how to get back to Warren at the trailhead. But she, too, never returned. Other theories, such as an attack from mountain lions or coyotes, are very unlikely, given that zero evidence of that has been discovered. The most commonly cited theory is that Kat wandered off and expired somewhere. But if that happened, then Tootsie would eventually have turned up and she has not. Where could they be? Did Kat and Tootsie fall into a crevasse or sinkhole? Did aliens abduct them? Or did foul play befall Kat? Mike Morford sat down to talk with Kat's daughter Desiree Blair about her mother's case. That conversation is coming up after a word from our sponsors.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Attention parents and grandparents. If you're looking for a gift that's more than just a toy, give them something that inspires confidence and adventure all year long. Give them a Guardian bike, the easiest bike to learn on, safest to ride, and the #1 kids bike on the market. With USA-made kid-specific frames and patented safety technology, kids are learning to ride in just one day. No training wheels needed. It's why Guardian is America's favorite kids bike and the New York Times and Wirecutter's top pick 3 years in a row. This holiday season, Guardian is offering their biggest deal of the year. Over 40% in savings on all bikes, plus $100 in free accessory. Each bike arrives 99% assembled, so setup takes minutes, not hours. Whether it's their very first ride or their next big upgrade, Guardian makes every pedal feel safe, smooth, and fun. Join over 500 happy families who've discovered the magic of Guardian. Visit GuardianBikes.com to shop now. That's GuardianBikes.com.
New school year, new routines, and a calendar that's somehow filled up overnight. When life gets hectic, the last thing you want to do is cook from scratch with all of that cleanup. For those busy days, Caulipower's got your back. Caulipower makes the food you crave, but made better for you. The best part? You don't have to sacrifice taste or time, so you can honor your cravings without compromising. Think thin, crispy cauliflower crust pizzas, all-natural chicken tenders coated in cauliflower, and crowd-pleasing nostalgic pizza snacks. Clean ingredients? Always. Ready in minutes? Absolutely. Full of flavor? 100%. Answering the "what's for dinner" question has never been easier. Caulipower's products are available in freezer aisles nationwide. Visit eatcaulipower.com/where-to-buy to find a store near you.
Hi, Desiree, and thank you for coming on Missing Persons to discuss your mom, Kat's case with us.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you here. I know you've been searching for your mom for a long time now, 6 years,
Yes.
without finding out what happened. I can't imagine what that's like. And I think what's really sad here is that whether it's from illness or foul play or some other reason, there's a possibility that your mom's not with us anymore. How tough has that been for you to deal with? And how important is it to at least find her, to say a proper farewell?
Yeah, exactly. It's been, like you said, 6 years, and it doesn't get any easier. The frustration, of course, being that, every way we could try to find her was done, a huge search down there. We put posters up and there was just no trace. There's no trace of anything, not her or the dog. And my mom and I were very, very close. And, without being able to say goodbye or find out what happened to her, if there was foul play or if she indeed got lost up in that canyon, has been really just tragic. You try to get along with your life. I've got 2 kids, and so I had to focus on that. But yeah, it hasn't gotten any easier, to be honest. The not knowing is really what gets you, as time goes by. So it's been difficult for sure.
Yeah, and there's, we're going to talk about the searches that were done, the efforts that were put in. And before we dive into what happened and get into the mystery surrounding your mom disappearing, can you tell listeners a little bit about your mom, what she was like, and you let us get to know her a little bit?
Yeah. My mom, Katherine, everybody called her Kat. She moved out to San Felipe about, 30 years ago, somewhere in there. Always wanted to live in Mexico, and she got a little place and she got really into the community. She taught English to the locals there through UABC, the university, and was just really involved in a lot of community things with the Rotary Club, and then she started her own blog or website, catscorner.com, while she was managing an internet outlet down there, the Net, and she managed that for quite a few years until they shut down and ended. But yeah, my mom was a paralegal for most of my upbringing. Very smart, wonderful laugh, a contagious laugh, and just just a really good person in my eyes, of course. And in San Felipe, she was kind of known as one of the locals. She wasn't really like a gringa, as you would say. And so she worked at the Net for quite a few years. She had like 6 dogs. She loved animals. She was always trying to feed the stray dogs in town, and just very well liked by the community, and loved it down there. And I went down there and lived with her for about 2 years, about 10 years ago now. But yeah, very smart. Helped everybody with their computer issues. She built almost all the websites for most of the hotels down in San Felipe. And so she really promoted San Felipe and how safe it was to go down there, which is kind of ironic. But, she would do the walkabouts with Kat and talk to, tourists that were coming down there, and, a lot of like spring breakers that would take the buses down there for SWAT, and, just kind of putting the word out that San Felipe was a safe place to visit and to vacation and, come on down, because that's, how they survive is through a lot of tourism. So she was very much involved in that. So yeah, that's just kind of a nutshell of who my mom was.
And it sounds like she really fit in and became part of the community there.
Yes, she really did. Everybody knew her. Everybody loved her. And, yeah, she really flourished down there,
Now, she's down there. It sounds like she's living her best life. Then, unfortunately, she's diagnosed in 2018 with liver cancer. She battled that disease. She went on, had some surgery type procedure done, went through chemo, but then she came to the decision to stop treatment. And I'm curious how that decision came about, and where was she at with that decision? Was she comfortable? Had she accepted it at that point?
Well, first of all, I, as far to my knowledge, she told me she didn't do chemo. She did radiation, is what she told me, that she didn't want to do chemotherapy. They did do some procedures to try to get the cancer out, and they thought they got it. And then her next checkup, they had missed something. And so, I don't know if she had fully accepted it. I know she kind of sheltered me a little bit from it, because she knew I would be, of course, freaked out, basically. But no, she was just going to kind of let it run its course, is what the last time we had spoken about it. She was like, I'm not going to do chemo. I'm not going to go out that way. I'm just going to let nature take its course and try to live the best life I can until that day comes. But yeah, it was pretty, you could tell she was starting to, her health was getting worse. It had been probably 3 or 4 months since her last doctor's appointment to when the last time I had seen her, and you could tell it was getting to her. It was starting to, take effect. And so, yeah.
What was her prognosis? Was she given like a certain amount of time without treatment of how long she could expect to live?
No, she was not. I think originally when she was diagnosed, they figured they could get the cancer out. They could just have surgery and remove the tumors. And so there wasn't really like a end of life date, so to speak. But I don't know what they had told her, or if she had even told her doctors that she wasn't going to continue treatment. And so I think she just kind of let it be. I don't think she even wanted to know if there was going to be a time limit, if you know what I mean. So.
Yeah. Did that cause any kind of depression for her, or was she still sort of upbeat and keeping busy?
Yes, I think it did. Of course, any kind of diagnosis like that would give you some sort of depression, but I think she has gone through a lot in her life, and we had her sister Paula had died of liver failure a number of years prior, and from cirrhosis of the liver, and it was just really hard to watch her go that way. And I think my mom just kind of said, I'm not gonna let this, get me down. She was, spunky and was outgoing and trying to do the best she could to live as much as she could, after that with her husband. So,
yeah. So
yeah.
she's going on her terms and deciding, she wants to do things the way she wants to do them and not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To something. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely.
So she's battling that in April 2018. It's coming up on her anniversary with her husband, Warren, who you just mentioned. And it was around that time that I know they got into some kind of argument. She had slept on someone's couch and not come home. And
Right.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
And that led to a bit of a fight, and Warren went as far as to kick her out of the house. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yeah. So my mom's got a house in town, that same house she's been in since she moved to San Felipe. But when her and Warren got together, she moved out to his place, out in El Dorado. It's the solar area. Everybody in that area is on solar power. And so anyway, yeah, they had gotten into a fight. I don't know what happened prior to her, sleeping on the neighbor's, porch or whatever. But she didn't leave a note for Warren, didn't let him know where she was or what was going on. And I don't know why, but I know he felt very disrespected, and was very upset about it. And so, yeah, he basically kicked her out and, said we were done. And my mom was very upset about it. She loves Warren, and, it was very, upsetting for her. So she had moved out of his place and went back down to her house in town. And I think it was just a number of days, they got on the phone, and she had told me via email, of course, that, her and Warren had broke up. And then like 2 or 3 days later said, oh, we got back together. It's a long story. I'll tell you some other time, So, and from what Warren said, they spoke on the phone, and he said, or no, my mom said, so do you want to end it this way? I mean, I don't want to end it this way. And he said, no, and so he said, come on back. And so she did. And that was, 2 days before the hike, I think, is when they technically got back together. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So they reconciled, they patched things up, and then their anniversary, April 11th,
yes,
is when your mom went missing. So it's your mom, Warren, along with a handful of other people, decide to go out to Diablo Canyon, in the Sierra de, I'm going to try to say this without messing up, Sierra de San Pedro Mártir National Park.
Yes.
In San Felipe, that's Baja, California. So this was like a hiking getaway, and I'm curious about a few things. First off, how much experience did your mom have hiking? Was that something she was into? And then, everyone else in the group, did they have experience? And with her illness, how physically capable was she to make that kind of trek?
Sure. Okay. So, I mean, my mom's not an avid hiker, it's not something she, would take her day off and I'm going to go on a hike, but she she had been on several since she had lived in San Felipe. And, as far as the rest of the group, I'm not really sure. I think that's the same with anybody else in the group, that it's not like they chose to go out and hike here and there, on their free time, but had been hiking. And I know a couple of the people on the hike, besides my mom and Warren, had been to that area before, like Nicole and her husband had been there before. As far as the others, I'm not sure that they had been in that canyon necessarily. But I think they all kind of, knew the basics of hiking, yeah. And in that area, it's, when you think of hiking, you typically think of, a wooded forest, mountains that you're hiking up steep hills and all that. And this terrain is quite different. It's very bouldery and, desert. There's no markings. So, and there's no trail. Like, you kind of have to know where you're going. But, and my mom, she apparently felt up to going, because obviously she did, but she had a couple broken toes from some tourist rolling their cooler over her foot one day and broke a couple toes. And so she was a little bit, injured, so to speak, before the trail hike or whatnot.
Attention parents and grandparents. If you're looking for a gift that's more than just a toy, give them something that inspires confidence and adventure all year long. Give them a Guardian bike, the easiest bike to learn on, safest to ride, and the #1 kids bike on the market. With USA-made kid-specific frames and patented safety technology, kids are learning to ride in just one day. No training wheels needed. It's why Guardian is America's favorite kids bike and the New York Times and Wirecutter's top pick 3 years in a row. This holiday season, Guardian is offering their biggest deal of the year. Over 40% in savings on all bikes, plus $100 in free accessory. Each bike arrives 99% assembled, so setup takes minutes, not hours. Whether it's their very first ride or their next big upgrade, Guardian makes every pedal feel safe, smooth, and fun. Join over 500 happy families who've discovered the magic of Guardian. Visit GuardianBikes.com to shop now. That's GuardianBikes.com.
If you have young kids, you know how important it is to find screen-free activities that actually hold their attention. The Story Dream Machine does just that, with simple, kid-friendly controls and a magical way of bringing stories to life. It projects words while a narrator reads aloud, helping your child develop early reading skills and word recognition. The colorful lights and sound effects make every story feel like an adventure. Kids can follow along, recognize sight words, and build confidence with every tale. Parents love how easy it is to swap stories and customize the experience for different ages. And when the story's over, it transforms into a white noise nightlight to help your child drift off to sleep. You can collect a growing library of stories, including many you loved as a kid. It's a bedtime game changer and a daytime learning tool all in one. Find the Story Dream Machine at Amazon, Target, Costco, Walmart, and LittleTykes.com. Bring story time to life with the Story Dream Machine.
New school year, new routines, and a calendar that's somehow filled up overnight. When life gets hectic, the last thing you want to do is cook from scratch with all of that cleanup. For those busy days, Caulipower's got your back. Caulipower makes the food you crave, but made better for you. The best part? You don't have to sacrifice taste or time, so you can honor your cravings without compromising. Think thin, crispy cauliflower crust pizzas, all-natural chicken tenders coated in cauliflower, and crowd-pleasing, nostalgic pizza snacks. Clean ingredients? Always. Ready in minutes? Absolutely. Full of flavor? 100%. Answering the "what's for dinner" question has never been easier. Caulipower's products are available in freezer aisles nationwide. Visit eatcaulipower.com/where-to-buy to find a store near you.
So I imagine she's probably not in the best shape, between being ill, but also now she's got a foot injury. So hiking seems like not something you would want to do too far. And I know at some point in the walk, she decided to stay at a certain point on that trail while the others continued ahead with the hike. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is. Yeah. She had said even before she went out that that was her main objective was to take Tootsie, her dog, to the first set of pools, because at the top of the hike is a waterfall, and the water kind of trails down, the mountain or whatever, and has little pools. Nothing that you could drown in necessarily. You could probably swim in a few of them, but definitely she wanted to let Tootsie play in the water. And so I don't think she intended to go all the way up to begin with. And she probably couldn't have made it all the way up anyway. She had told a friend that was on the hike with her that her foot was hurting, and so she was just going to stay behind. And
So everybody else that was in the group, they all went ahead. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yeah. So she, said, "Hey, I'm going to stay behind. My foot's hurting, and I'm going to let Tootsie play in the water." And I cannot recall the guy's name right off the top of my head, but one of them had kind of stayed behind and walked with her, because she was kind of behind everybody else. And he had told me that, she said she was going to stay behind, and he was like, "Oh, I'll stay with you." And my mom was kind of like, "Fuck you," I'm fine. Don't baby me kind of thing. And if you know my mom, she's kind of got that sense of humor that's like, you listen to what she says. She says, "Fuck you," you're just going to go on, which, I fought with a lot, because in my opinion, it's the first rule of hiking anywhere out in the wilderness, whether you're in the woods or the desert or wherever. You don't leave somebody behind, even if it's just a few miles away. You're going to be back, in just a short amount of time. You just don't, because anything can happen, obviously. So, but yeah, she decided to stay behind, and they all continued up the trail. So.
And then they came back. By the time they got back to where your mom was waiting, it's almost 90 minutes later. And when they got back, obviously your mom's not there, Tootsie's not there. What was the conversation like at that moment? Were they like worried immediately? Were they just thinking, okay, maybe she went a little further down the trail? Did she go back to the car? What were they thinking was going on when she wasn't there?
Yeah, so it takes about 50 minutes to hike up from where they left her, to hike up to the waterfall and then come back down, which was exactly about the time frame when they did return to where they had left her. They noticed when they got there that she wasn't there. Her Dos Equis bottle, because she had a bottle of beer, was there on the rock, but that was it. And so they at that time they just thought, oh well, maybe she probably just went down to where the vehicles were, because they weren't too far away. Like a mile or maybe two at the most, but I think it was like a mile and a half where the vehicles were parked, which is where her husband Warren and Nicole's husband were stayed to work on one of the vehicles. So they initially thought, oh, she just made it back down to Warren, and weren't really panicked. And then, of course, when they got down to where Warren and Dave were, and they're like, "Hey, so where's Kat?" And I guess Warren was like, "What do you mean? She was with you guys?" And they're like, "No, she wasn't there. We thought she made it down here." And he thought they were joking, like, haha. And they're like, "No, like, she's not there. We don't know where she is." And so then that's when panic, I think, set in, and they started to disperse and go back up the trail and call her name, honking horns, that type of thing. Really like, where could she have gone, type of feeling. So.
And just, I'm trying to visualize this without seeing it on a map or pictures. But so it sounds like Warren and this other guy, Dave, are further down than she is. She had gone up a little further than them. Is that right?
Yeah. Like, so when you pull in, it's not really even a parking lot. It's just kind of like a empty space. So you pull in, and then you just walk up these little dunes, and there's cactus and bushes and rocks and stuff. It's, pretty, gosh, how do I say this? Bumpy, I guess, there's definitely not any flatland once you start up the trail. And so up the trail, kind of up the mountain, about, like I said, about a mile and a half is where the first pools are, on your way up to the waterfall. And so, they stayed behind. So, and from what I've heard out in that canyon, because of the way the canyon is, you can see somebody, but you can't hear them. They could be, 20 yards away from you, and you can see them, but you try to call out their name and it's hard to hear. because of the acoustics of the mountain or the, and the wind howling or whatnot is what I've been told. So.
And I'm curious too, what were the conditions like that day? Was it hot? How hot was it? I'm assuming it was pretty hot. It's a desert, it sounds like.
Yeah. It was, you know what? It was pretty warm. I'm sure it wasn't, like lip blistering, heat. It was a decent time of year. April's not too bad. When you get down towards like August, that's when it's sweltering. Like, you don't want to be out into the desert around that time of year, but April, it wasn't bad. It was manageable. So yeah,
And
it was probably, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm trying to imagine this terrain. I'm assuming there's, like you mentioned, there's cactus. There's probably lots of rocks, snakes,
Yes.
all kinds of scorpions. Maybe.
Oh,
It
yes.
sounds like there's a lot of hazards in that area that someone that goes off and gets lost or gets hurt or something could be up against.
Definitely. Yeah, I read that there was a couple people that had gotten lost. They were very elderly, apparently, and they got lost into the night. And coyotes will come out of that canyon, and they, of course, are in packs, and so they didn't make it out of the canyon, basically. But besides that, there's also mountain lions, scorpions, snakes. Your typical, desert mountain animals that could kill you, for sure. But with my mom's case, because what they had thought, oh, maybe a mountain lion got her or something. Well, there was no evidence of that, no blood. You'd see something. You'd see some sort of struggle or blood somewhere, but none of that was found. So, and it's very rare for mountain lions to kind of come out and attack, at least in that area. Snakes and scorpions, sure. Yeah, it's possible. Especially being near water,
Yeah.
So.
And so she doesn't have any water with you. You mentioned she had a beer, so that's another concern.
Yes.
But there are bodies of water in that area that can you drink from that water?
I'm sure you could. I think you'd probably get pretty sick, as far as I know. But like her dog could drink that water there. But, yeah, she did not have a bottle of water, which was surprising, but not uncommon. And that was pretty much all she had. She didn't have her cigarettes or a lighter. She had bummed a cigarette and somebody lit it for her when they had headed off and left her there. So,
So
yeah.
she's got the clothes on her back, literally.
Yeah.
Did she have a cell phone with her?
She did, but there's no service up there, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, and they
So
had
even
done
if she wanted to use that phone to get help, there'd be no way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. She basically brought it to take pictures. She had the latest iPhone, and so she wanted to take pictures and whatnot. And they had pinged her phone, but it pinged at Pete's Camp, which is on the way out to where the First Federales check stop is, and then you take a left to go out towards the mountain. So yeah, that was no good, unfortunately.
So you mentioned the group now is panicked. They're like, "Where is she?" They start calling, beeping horns, looking around. They don't see any sign of her. So I guess at that point they call the police or the authorities. And did they come right out immediately?
Well, from what I was told, when they're honking horns and kind of, a couple of them went back up the trail to see if they could find her or see anything. Kevin Lucarelli, I think was his name. Very good guy. He was the one who stayed behind and walked up with my mom. He had a drone. He didn't have a whole lot of battery life, but so he sent it up in the air. And that particular year, there was a lot of rains in that canyon or in the desert. And so there was a lot of more greenery or green bush vegetation than normal. So from what he told me, it was very difficult to see, if she was crouched down near a bush or, behind something. It was going to be hard to see. It was very difficult. So, but anyway, they flew the drone out as far as around they could and didn't see anything, didn't see Tootsie or my mom, nothing. And so, and like I said, he had little battery power for it. So they brought the drone back in and then they decided, okay, let's get to town and call some people. And so Warren stayed behind. Warren stayed up there while everybody went back into town to call the authorities. So.
And by the time they got out, I'm assuming it was dark, so they didn't search at night because it would be probably putting other people at risk to try and go out at night.
Yes, to my understanding, that's true. Warren stayed up there, and it's starting to get dark at this point. And he had told me that a group had shown up, some kids from Mexicali that were going to hike the mountain, and they were going to do it at night because it's a lot cooler. And so he told them about my mom and the dog and just said, hey, keep your eyes open. My wife and our dog are missing. They're lost out there or something. And so from what I know, when they returned, they said they didn't see anything. So, but yeah, Warren had stayed out there. And I think the Red Cross and the I want to say the tarantulas, but that's not correct.
Yes, the scorpions.
Scorpions. That's it. Yes, yeah. Had made it out there. In the early morning, the next morning. So,
well, and that's the thing. There was quite an extensive search. From what I've read, the Mexico Civil Rescue Agency, the Scorpions personnel, Mexican military choppers were used over the following days, and they scoured that area, but no sign of her, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, it was probably, I think, one of the biggest searches in Baja for somebody, as far as I know. Mexican military. There was like over 100 and some odd hours of on foot, volunteer search people scouring, and they went and searched, further than she could have gotten on foot, from what I was told, that, she only could have gotten so far with the broken toes, with, her dog Tootsie, and the way the terrain is. They scoured everything, and to no avail, unfortunately.
Just, it's very, it's such a massive search that they actually uncovered a couple marijuana plantations, or grow operations during that search. And I'm curious, obviously that brings to mind some people with nefarious, bad guys or whatever. Was that area where your mom was in when she went missing, was it close enough to these plantations that she might have crossed paths with some bad people that could have harmed her?
No, not really. It was quite a distance away. I don't think she made it all the way up there, but, there's been cases where people have, you don't know what the body's capable of when you're, in dire need of, whatever. So it's possible. It's very possible she could have made it all the way out there, but very unlikely. And yes, they did uncover a marijuana field, and, but they didn't find anything there. And then there's also a ranch, apparently, on the opposite side, that was, I'm not going to say it was too far for her, because it wasn't up in the actual canyon. It was more, on the flatter lands, but it was a distance away. And Warren made his way out there to talk to the people that owned it, or the locals there. And, I don't know how much Spanish Warren knows, but, and I don't know if they spoke English either. I don't know, but he told them what was up, and they said they hadn't seen her or anything like that. So, it's like, it's very unlikely that she had made it to either of those spots, but there's always a possibility.
And I think it just shows how extensive that search was, that they actually uncovered these marijuana grow operations, and, but not your mom or any sign of your mom. It's just so strange.
Attention parents and grandparents. If you're looking for a gift that's more than just a toy, give them something that inspires confidence and adventure all year long. Give them a Guardian bike, the easiest bike to learn on, safest to ride, and the #1 kids bike on the market. With USA-made kid-specific frames and patented safety technology, kids are learning to ride in just one day. No training wheels needed. It's why Guardian is America's favorite kids bike, and the New York Times and Wirecutter's top pick 3 years in a row. This holiday season, Guardian is offering their biggest deal of the year. Over 40% in savings on all bikes, plus $100 in free accessory. Each bike arrives 99% assembled, so setup takes minutes, not hours. Whether it's their very first ride or their next big upgrade, Guardian makes every pedal feel safe, smooth, and fun. Join over 500 happy families who've discovered the magic of Guardian. Visit GuardianBikes.com to shop now. That's GuardianBikes.com.
If you have young kids, you know how important it is to find screen-free activities that actually hold their attention. The Story Dream Machine does just that, with simple, kid-friendly controls and a magical way of bringing stories to life. It projects words while a narrator reads aloud, helping your child develop early reading skills and word recognition. The colorful lights and sound effects make every story feel like an adventure. Kids can follow along, recognize sight words, and build confidence with every tale. Parents love how easy it is to swap stories and customize the experience for different ages. And when the story's over, it transforms into a white noise nightlight to help your child drift off to sleep. You can collect a growing library of stories, including many you loved as a kid. It's a bedtime game changer and a daytime learning tool all in one. Find the Story Dream Machine at Amazon, Target, Costco, Walmart, and LittleTykes.com. Bring story time to life with the Story Dream Machine.
New school year, new routines, and a calendar that's somehow filled up overnight. When life gets hectic, the last thing you want to do is cook from scratch with all of that cleanup. For those busy days, Caulipower's got your back. Caulipower makes the food you crave, but made better for you. The best part? You don't have to sacrifice taste or time, so you can honor your cravings without compromising. Think thin, crispy cauliflower crust pizzas, all-natural chicken tenders coated in cauliflower, and crowd-pleasing nostalgic pizza snacks. Clean ingredients? Always. Ready in minutes? Absolutely. Full of flavor? 100%. Answering the "what's for dinner" question has never been easier. Caulipower's products are available in freezer aisles nationwide. Visit eatcaulipower.com/where-to-buy to find a store near you.
I know time passes by. None of these searches are yielding anything. Now, I did want to touch on one thing that I know there were dogs used to look for your mom as well. Did those dogs show any indication that they might have a scent for her or anything?
No, yeah, they, because I had originally asked, I said, can we get some bloodhounds out there, because, or cadaver dogs of some sort. And because bloodhounds will search for, a scent of a person, their cologne or their BO or whatnot. And cadaver dogs will simply look for dead flesh, basically. But having that said, Mexico doesn't have bloodhounds. They did have some search dogs that were sent out there. And from what I was told, I guess because it was very windy that day, that the dogs didn't catch a scent at all, which I thought was very odd, especially because she had her dog with her. Mm. They didn't find any of Tootsie's, poop or anything like that. They didn't even catch to the dog's smell, but they're not really trained to smell for a dog. They're trained to smell for, a dead person, unfortunately. And, they can smell it through water, and they did not pick up any scent whatsoever. It was disheartening for sure.
And again, I'm trying to picture this area and this trail. And so had your mom wanted to, let's say, go back to the car, she would have likely ran into Warren down there where he was at, heading back to the car. Is it pretty much a clear pathway to walk on?
No, it is not. Like to get there, you wouldn't be able to see him. You have to kind of go down a dune and up a dune and around some rocks. And, it's not very far though. I know that much. I kind of figured that was my first initial, worry was I thought, well, she would make it back down to the vehicles. Either Tootsie would lead her back because Tootsie could smell where Warren was, or maybe know the trail that they took. My mom's no idiot. She knows the sun rises in the east and sets in the west and all that good stuff, but she's directionally challenged. She always has been. So, especially if she's kind of focused on her toes hurting and, the breakup with Warren and how, that's all playing out. And it's their anniversary. I'm sure her mind was nowhere near, okay, focus on where you're going up around these rocks to figure out how to get back just in case. So, yeah.
It sounds like an area with, rocks, cactus, and sand, it's like everything looks the same. It seems like you could easily lose your way and
Yes.
just get lost.
Yes, it definitely is. Yeah, you can definitely get lost up there quickly, even if you, are good in that area. Like Warren has been up there several times. He kind of knows that desert like the back of his hand. But he still uses his GPS to make sure he's on the right, way to get out there. But yeah, you can get turned around pretty easily up there.
Yeah. So he kept searching after the rest of these searches failed, and he's never found any shred of your mom.
Yeah, no. So yeah, definitely. He searched even after the official search was over. And that was the day that I finally was able to arrive in San Felipe. But, and from what I had heard, I mean, and I'm sure it was because it was a long day. He had fallen asleep in his Jeep, while he was waiting up there for my mom. I think he sort of thought she would just kind of come out of the canyon and, oh, here I am, and so I honestly, I was a little upset about that at first when I heard it, but I get it. He's an older guy, but yeah, so he waited up there, I guess, honking his horn every now and again and, just kind of hoping that she would appear, but that was not the case.
Now you had come out, you're worried, you're trying to do what you can. I know you said you put flyers out, things like that. And eventually you've got your own, family back home. You've got, a job, kids, that kind of stuff. How tough was it to make the decision that you've got to leave the search and go back?
Yeah. So getting down there, first of all, because I have 2 kids, I needed somebody to come watch my kids while I made it down there. And so it took me about two or 3 days to get everything ready so I could even leave. I was living in Spokane, Washington at the time. And so the day that I got down there was the day that they called the search off officially, which was heartbreaking because that was the whole reason I was coming down. After doing everything I could think of, except for, and I'll mention this because I know there was some question about, because I didn't go up to where she went missing. By the time I had gotten down there was, everybody had searched up there it was relentless. She wasn't up there. In my mind, she wasn't up there. And I was told by many locals and other people that it's not safe, like not to go up there because I could either get lost and I had 2 kids to worry about. And, I felt like we needed to move to the next step. Okay, she's not up there. The military's looked, everybody's searched. There's not even a trace of her up there. So we need to start looking somewhere else, getting posters up around town in Spanish and English, definitely in Spanish. And, just trying any other avenue because she wasn't up there. She's got to be somewhere, and so having, going to the cop shop every other day, talking to them, trying to find out, who can we talk to? What can we do? Where should we look? Did she have any enemies? Would she purposely not want to be found? Like she had some plan to have somebody pick her up out there. And I mean, which was kind of ridiculous. But you have to look through every option. And yeah, leaving, I mean, I can't tell you how difficult that was. I know I had to get back home to my kids, but when you are faced with something like that, it's like you don't, and I still to this day, I mean, I don't want to stop looking for her until I find her, and just feeling like I failed, and was just very, very difficult. But life has to move on. And so, I ended up having to come back home. And since then I have tried to plan trips to get back down there, to tie up the rest of her, she's got a home down there. She's got all the rest of her belongings and yada, yada. But have not been able to do so for a number of reasons. But yeah, it was very difficult.
Attention parents and grandparents. If you're looking for a gift that's more than just a toy, give them something that inspires confidence and adventure all year long. Give them a Guardian bike, the easiest bike to learn on. safest to ride, and the #1 kids bike on the market. With USA-made kid-specific frames and patented safety technology, kids are learning to ride in just one day. No training wheels needed. It's why Guardian is America's favorite kids bike and the New York Times and Wirecutter's top pick 3 years in a row. This holiday season, Guardian is offering their biggest deal of the year. Over 40% in savings on all bikes, plus $100 in free accessory. Each bike arrives 99% assembled, so setup takes minutes, not hours. Whether it's their very first ride or their next big upgrade, Guardian makes every pedal feel safe, smooth, and fun. Join over 500 happy families who've discovered the magic of Guardian. Visit GuardianBikes.com to shop now. That's GuardianBikes.com.
If you have young kids, you know how important it is to find screen-free activities that actually hold their attention. The Story Dream Machine does just that, with simple, kid-friendly controls and a magical way of bringing stories to life. It projects words while a narrator reads aloud, helping your child develop early reading skills and word recognition. The colorful lights and sound effects make every story feel like an adventure. Kids can follow along, recognize sight words, and build confidence with every tale. Parents love how easy it is to swap stories and customize the experience for different ages. And when the story's over, it transforms into a white noise nightlight to help your child drift off to sleep. You can collect a growing library of stories, including many you loved as a kid. It's a bedtime game changer and a daytime learning tool all in one. Find the Story Dream Machine at Amazon, Target, Costco, Walmart, and LittleTykes.com. Bring story time to life with the Story Dream Machine.
New school year, new routines, and a calendar that's somehow filled up overnight. When life gets hectic, the last thing you want to do is cook from scratch with all of that cleanup. For those busy days, Caulipower's got your back. Caulipower makes the food you crave, but made better for you. The best part? You don't have to sacrifice taste or time, so you can honor your cravings without compromising. Think thin, crispy cauliflower crust pizzas, all-natural chicken tenders coated in cauliflower, and crowd-pleasing, nostalgic pizza snacks. Clean ingredients? Always. Ready in minutes? Absolutely. Full of flavor? 100%. Answering the "what's for dinner" question has never been easier. Caulipower's products are available in freezer aisles nationwide. Visit eatcaulipower.com/where-to-buy to find a store near you.
Now, you had wanted attention for her case. You wanted to put flyers out. You wanted anyone that knew anything to come forward. But sometimes that reaching out for help brings in negative help. I know there was an extortion attempt made in the case. Can you talk a little bit about that and what exactly happened?
Sure. So I was contacted by a friend of mine, Barbie, who lives down there. And she said that there was this guy who wanted to get a hold of me, that something about Google Earth. And I was like, oh, okay. And so she gave me his Facebook or his name or whatever. Danny, I guess, was his name. Or no, that was the wife's name, Danny. And gosh, I cannot remember his name now. I think it was Dave and Danny, something like that. Anyway, so I messaged him. I said, hey, this is Desiree. Barbie told me you would like to talk to me about Google Earth and my mom going missing, and so he emailed me back, and we spoke via email for about 2 days, just talking about, what had happened and what his thoughts were. And, he led me to believe that he had friends in the FBI, and that he was gonna find out who did this. And to be honest, he thought it was Warren. He automatically thought it was Warren and said, he's gonna find evidence, and was just really proactive on trying to solve her case. And so I had given him my new cell phone number because I had to have my cell phone number changed because the original poster had my cell phone on as a contact in case anybody had any information about it, which I thought was going to be a good idea. And it just really turned out not to be. I got numerous phone calls that, first of all, half of them couldn't speak English. The other half, it was, no good leads, their idea of, maybe aliens took her or whatnot. And so I said, look, I got to get my number changed. I'm just getting flooded with all these, people calling me. So anyway, Warren was the only other person, and my friend Cesar Cuidarte, who lives in San Felipe, who was absolutely a gem while I was down there helping me. They were the only people besides Dave that knew my phone number. And so the third day, I was supposed to get a phone call from him. And I got this text on my cell phone that said, we have Kat, your mom, and me and my men or whatnot, and said they wanted a ransom amount, and, that I needed to do this, that, and the other to get this money to them. And at first, the initial reading of this text, I thought, what the heck is going on? Oh my God, they have my mom. Oh my God, she's alive, but she's been kidnapped and they want a ransom, which is not uncommon for Mexico. So, I can't express to you the flood of emotions I went through during that moment. And so, and they said, of course, don't contact the police, or we'll kill her. This is what you need to do. And I said, okay, no problem. Just give me a little bit of time. I said, can I talk to her? Can you send me a picture so I know that she's there and alive, give me some incentive for this? Because, you see on TV shows, that's kind of how it goes. Let me know she's really there. You have her before I get all this money for you. And he couldn't do that. He kind of hemmed and hawed and said, oh, well, where I keep her, she's very sick right now and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he ended up calling her, this poor woman, you need to get this money together for this poor woman or something along those lines. And it just dawned on me. I thought, God, I've heard somebody else has called her this poor woman before. Well, it was that guy, that Dave guy or whatever, who was trying to make me think that he was going to help me find my mom, had said in one of his emails, this poor woman. And I thought, well, that's just really coincidental, how weird is that? And so I kind of resisted a bit on, complying with what this guy was asking me to do. I said, look, let me talk to her, send me a picture of her, I really need to do that before I can continue with this. And then I realized, well, wait a second, how did this guy get my number? I was so wrapped up in, oh my gosh, my mom's alive, somebody's got her. I didn't even think, well, this guy who's, has my mom, held hostage, how did he get my cell phone number? Well, obviously it comes to find out it was this guy that was trying to extort me for money, which I can't even tell you. I was just infuriated. How could you do this to me? You had me thinking that you were trying to help me and now you're extorting me. Like, what kind of sicko are you?
Oh, how much money was he asking for?
And that was another ridiculous thing. It was like $5,000. I'm sorry, my mom's worth way more than that.
Yeah, it just seems like,
yeah,
it seems like somebody's asking for small change when they could be asking for a lot more than that. Did you get the police involved?
Well, no, not originally. I had called Warren and I said, Warren, look, this person, and I'm pretty sure it's this guy, but they want a ransom. I actually had screenshotted my phone and sent him the messages that I had via text from, that guy or this number, which I'm sure was a burner phone. So, cause, we tried, calling them and whatnot, and there was no luck with that, but yeah. And then he wanted the money on, gift cards or something sent. And this was the weird thing. He gave me a name and an address, which I had looked up, and there was nothing came from that. But I thought, well, that's kind of weird. Maybe this guy's related to something up there. Somebody, it was, I can't even remember the town in Oklahoma or something, which was weird. It just all was very, now looking back at it, of course, was very amateur, very, not well put together. Is somebody just trying to get, little few bucks from me, basically. Because I think if it was any kind of serious, why wouldn't they get a hold of her husband? Why me? Well, it's because, so.
He had your contact. That's what, sucks. In this kind of instance, you see the best in people all coming out to help search and all that stuff. And then you see the worst in people like this guy trying to, get some money out of you. It's terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible. And it was, it was like the Twilight Zone almost, it was just like, and so I emailed him. I said, look, I know it's you that's, texting me this ransom stuff. And I cussed him out up and down. And I said, don't be surprised if the authorities, come knocking at your door, because it's illegal to extort anyone in America and in Mexico. So yeah. And I guess Warren, took a few friends and went up to where this guy lives, which, is kind of weird because he lives in near that canyon, I guess. It's like probably 50 miles or something from there, but went there and confronted him, and he denied it, of course. But I don't know that the authorities were never ever necessarily like involved enough to where they went to his place. From what Warren said, he let the authorities know, and so they kind of put that down in the notes. But yeah, I don't think it was investigated like it should have been. But yeah.
So just an ugly part of the story. And, I just wanted to ask you about one other detail that sort of caught my attention.
Sure.
About a stolen laptop. What connection to your mom's case might that have?
What that was my mom had a Mac Pro laptop that she did everything on, everything. It was her life. And so the cops had taken her laptop to try to get any information they could that might, give a clue or something to what had happened to her. And as most people know, Apple, they have a great security system on their laptops. And to no avail, they could not get into her laptop. They didn't know her password, and neither did Warren. And so after some time of them having the laptop, I had asked Warren to please send it to me because I wanted to try to take a crack on getting into it and whatnot. And unfortunately, probably 2 months after I had it, it got stolen. I got robbed. My house got broken into, and it was taken. And devastated, absolutely devastated, because there could have been some sort of clue on her laptop as to what might have happened. And without having her, any information about the laptop to have, but I let the cops know in Spokane that, this laptop was taken, and but I've never seen it again. So.
And no reason to think that it's necessarily connected to your mom going missing. Just could have just been a random.
Oh yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was random. I don't think anybody in Spokane knew that what the situation was. So yeah.
And one of the people that was in that hiking group that day wound up taking his own life.
Yes.
And I'm curious, is there any indication? Anything to point to maybe him having some guilt in relation to your mom's case, or is it totally unrelated, do you think?
I know when it was that Kevin Lucarelli, who had walked up with my mom and sent up the drone, and he was by far the nicest out of the crew, at least in my opinion, that I had spoken with. We had exchanged emails quite a few times, and he was very polite. And I just said, could you tell me, in your opinion, what kind of unfolded that day, and, what my mom's mood was in, all that kind of stuff. And when I had found out that he had taken his own life, I just thought, gosh, that's awful. And then, of course, there's a party that thought, well, gosh, that's weird, because it was, I think, like a month away from the 1-year anniversary of my mom disappearing. And sure, it runs in your mind like, did he do that because he, just felt so guilty about something? Because in one of our emails, he had mentioned, he goes, I think about it every day. I should have stayed behind with her, and I didn't, and I have to live with that, and just how awful he felt. And I, of course, told him, don't feel that way, because it could have been anybody, and it's not your fault, and so I don't know. I did speak with his daughter, who happens to be named Desiree, and of course, I wasn't going to ask her that, and she didn't indicate anything, like if he had left a note behind that mentioned it. I don't believe that was the case, and I didn't know him very well, so I don't know if I'm assuming he had depression or whatnot leading up to that. But yeah, that's another mystery. I'm not really sure if what happened to my mom had anything to do with that or not. I question that.
I imagine that you start looking at anything in connection to this case and see, is there a connection? Is there something that ties back to my mom. So I think it's only human nature. And
Yes.
as far as the rest of the group, everyone that was there, did they all cooperate with police? Were they all questioned? Is there any reason to believe any of them could have been involved in something shady?
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't believe so. I mean, I don't know any of these people. I've spoken to a few of them, and I don't think that they had any reason to be involved in anything. And initially I was upset because they all had to go back to their lives, which I completely understand. They can't stay down there forever looking for her. But about 3 days after she had gone missing, they all wrote statements and submitted that to the police because they had to get back to their lives, and that's understandable. But I've never seen their statements. I do have the police report, but I have not been able to see their statements. But the two ladies, Kim and Kelly, that I had spoken to via Messenger, kind of gave a rundown of what had happened that day, and all of their stories were basically the same. So I felt pretty good that I didn't think they had anything to do with it. They were just as shocked, I think, as anybody else. Like, where did she go? How did this happen? Like, you don't just poof disappear, but that's really what it kind of seemed like it had happened. So
Yeah. Very, it's all very mysterious and frustrating, to have a group of people up there and your mom somehow just gets separated from them and then vanishes in between, the larger group and then the two that are down below her.
yeah.
Somewhere in between them is the answer possibly to what happened, and you haven't been able to find that.
Yeah, it's very, very frustrating, especially because of that, exactly. That there's a group of people that's not too far, and then there's, your husband and his friend that are not too far on opposite sides, and it's not like you could drive a car up in there and have somebody up there and drive her out of there without seeing that, because when you pull up into where that canyon is, there's not a lot of mountains. It's fairly flat. So, I mean, it's possible, but like I said, highly unlikely. And if it's not an animal and it's not somebody in the group, I mean, you just, you think about it. I mean, I obsessed about it for a long time, just trying to go over every detail of what had happened and figuring out, well, what could have happened? Because you don't just disappear. And your dog, like if she would have died up in that mountain or in that canyon, from being lost, we just maybe missed her. She was down in a crevice or something along those lines. Tootsie would have stayed with her, as long as she could have, until natural instincts kick in and the dog needs to find water or food. I mean, they'll stay with their owner, is from what I'm told. But the dog's never been seen of, not a hair anywhere. It just doesn't make sense, sense really.
Yeah. You'd think that, a shred of clothing would be fine, maybe the dog leash, dog collar, that kind of stuff, and just to have nothing found. It's almost like they were taken out of that area, when you consider. Now, again, we are talking, desert terrain, and maybe sometimes things can get overlooked during a search. It's not unheard of that something's missed in a search, and then later on you come to find out that the answer was there all the time and it was just overlooked somehow. But it is very strange that you have that much concentration of a search and just don't find anything at all.
Yeah.
And the one thing I had meant to ask you, were there any footprints? Was it the kind of terrain she could leave footprints, or the dog would leave tracks that they could have seen in the sand?
Not really. I mean, I will say this, that I think it was Kelly or Kim. I think it was Kelly that had told me when they went back out to search for her, when they initially found that she was not there. There's an area near the trail. There's a cave, I guess, apparently, and they had checked the cave. She wasn't in there, but near there, they had found a couple sticks on the ground that were, in their opinion, was purposely made into a K and an X, and thought maybe that was my mom trying to say, hey, this is me, Catherine, and this is where I am. It was an X or an arrow, I think. I'm not sure which. I think it was an X, but that And so they thought that maybe she had made her way towards this ranch, because you could see the ranch in the distance, but it was quite a ways away. They could see the cattle way out in the distance. And so they thought, well, maybe she's making her way towards that ranch. And, but just how, but that wasn't mentioned like I heard that from her a couple of weeks after, I had even returned to, Spokane when she went missing. I thought, God, that's a lead, that's something. It's, she's telling us, you guys where she's at, or that she was there, and she's obviously, disoriented or whatnot. But like I said, my mom had gone through a course, a survival course, a number of years prior to this. She had told me all about it. They teach you how to, start fires and blah, blah, blah. Like I said, the sun rising in the east and all that stuff. And she knew not to wander. My mom I'd heard her say it a number of times, when you get lost, don't wander around. You're just going to get more lost. Just sit yourself where you are and somebody will find you, if somebody knows you're missing. And so that's what I thought was just really odd, that, she wouldn't just keep walking thinking she's going the right way if she doesn't really know. She knows not to wander. So that just really made a real weird twist on everything, because I thought, well, she had to have made her way down to the cars or something. I don't know.
So where does the case stand now, 6 years later? Where are things, and what's your outlook at this point?
Well, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Her case has been closed for, they closed her case about a year, almost a year, not quite a year after, she went missing. They did the investigation and they found no evidence. And when you have no evidence to go on, the case kind of goes cold. And so they close it. And I have since, of course, been trying to get it reopened, contact, the detectives down there, and to no avail. I mean, if you don't have anything to go on and you don't have any reason to reopen a case, if there's some new evidence or a witness maybe or something, they would reopen it and continue. But when you just have nothing to go from, there's just, it's been very difficult to try to have anything happen since then. So I just, I try to keep everybody's let everybody know she's still missing. If you go out there, keep your eyes open. If you hear something, contact the authorities, because it'd be amazing to at least find her body and give her the proper burial that she deserves. And I don't know that that'll ever happen. I hope it does. I'm hopeful, but it's discouraging living in Washington State, and her being in the Baja, or this happening there. So you feel very helpless and try every avenue you can think of, which is why, doing this interview with you, just trying to get her story out there, because somebody knows something. I feel like somebody may have saw something or knows something, and I just pray that somebody will come forward and give us that one break that could possibly at least lead us to where she's buried, or whatever happened to her, is my hope. So,
and you had mentioned earlier having to, planning on at least going down there to deal with her home or property, her, belongings. With that, is there any plan to have her declared deceased so you can make that stuff easier?
Yes. Yeah. I've just in the past 6 months or so, I've been trying to get that all figured out. It's a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. To get her declared deceased, you have to go through the courts down in Mexico or in San Felipe. And, I guess from what I read, that the law has just changed. It used to be like 10 years, at least it was in the States, or 5 years. And it's, I guess, lessened now. I think it's 2 or 3 years, because of so many people that have gone missing and not been found, and need to be declared deceased, so that you can manage her home or property, whether you're selling it or whatever you're planning on doing. And so, yeah, I've been trying to get that process down, finding an English-speaking lawyer down there who can go to the courts, and that, of course, costs money. So just trying to get that whole process. I mean, initially, I didn't want to. I didn't want to make it official that, that she's dead. I mean, obviously, she is because, I don't know. My heart tells me that she's not around. But this just kind of makes it official. And so that can be very, hard to do. But yeah, I'm still working on that. So
I can't even imagine what you're going through, having to deal with all of that and having to deal with it from a distance, having to deal with these other governments and stuff and their laws and, taking time, resources to get down there to deal with it. It seems like you've got a lot on your plate.
Yes, it's been very difficult. My mom had a good friend, Leonore, and her 2 twin daughters. My mother is their godmother, and they actually lived across the street from my mom's house. And so I've told them to move in. And so Benessia, one of the girls, just had a daughter. And so her family lives at my mom's house, taking care of it or whatnot, so that everything is kind of good to go there, at least. Don't have to worry about squatters or anything happening to her place, thankfully. And Warren's been, really good. I mean, he's held on to a lot of my mom's belongings at his property. And so, and he knows that it's been difficult for me to get down there. So, and, should something happen to Warren, because he's, no spring chicken, his son knows my contacts and whatnot. So if something should happen, I can still be able to get to my mom's belongings that are at Warren's house. So, but yeah, it's been very, very difficult being so far away. And you just kind of chip away a little at a time, and with the main goal, and just try to stay vigilant and get through it.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely do our part and try and help, get the word out that she's still not accounted for. And at the very least, you want to bring her remains home to, say a proper goodbye. So we'll share her story as much as we can on the show and on social media. Are there any websites or any social media that you have set up that you'd like to bring attention to?
Sure. Well, I've got a Facebook page. Katherine is Still Missing, that I've set up for her just to kind of give updates, especially back when it happened. I haven't had any really good posts lately, just because I have nothing to report. But I get on there now and again, and just kind of give a little, shout out. And I've gotten quite a bit of feedback from it, which has been great. Just people asking about what had happened and giving their ideas of what might have happened. And the more you talk about stuff, it can't be a bad thing necessarily. So I've been thankful for that. But yeah, you can go to Facebook. Katherine is Still Missing, and I administer on that one. So yeah.
Well, hopefully anybody that wants to learn more about the case, they can go over there and get all the details. I can't thank you enough, Desiree, for coming on to talk about your mom's case. It's very mysterious and a lot of detail. So thank you for helping us understand the case better.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate having the outlet and getting to talk to you and just getting all the details out there. I appreciate it. So thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Missing Persons. If you can provide any information to help solve the case we discussed in this episode, please contact the appropriate authorities.
If you enjoy this podcast, please take a moment to tell your friends about Missing Persons and invite them to listen to the show. Word of mouth will help us grow and bring these cases to a larger audience. You can also help us by taking a moment to rate and review Missing Persons on the platform you're listening to us now on. If you want to get early and ad-free access to new episodes of Missing Persons and help support the show in the process, please consider a subscription to our Apple Podcast. For only $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year, you'll get early ad-free access to not only this show, but to every other show on the AbJack network of podcasts. You can get started with a free trial by searching for AbJack Entertainment in your Apple app, and we'll include a link in the show notes. If you want to find us on social media, we're on every major platform and on YouTube. Just search for Missing Persons Podcast. We'll include links to all of our social media in our show notes, and you can also visit our website, missingpersonspodcast.com. Finally, If you're in need of a platform to discuss a missing persons case that you're connected to, feel free to reach out to us on our website. We're happy to help. Just a reminder that new episodes of Missing Persons air every other Saturday. On behalf of Jess Betancourt, this is Mike Morford saying thanks, and we'll see you next time on Missing Persons.